Buongiorno, everybody. Before I start, again, I'm going to tell you guys why we're making ladyfingers, and tomorrow we're making tiramisu. Lots of people make tiramisu. It's really not a hard recipe to make. But if you want to make the best tiramisu, make your own ladyfingers. And that's what I'm going to show you today. Now, what I'm going to show you is two ways, so stay tuned and be prepared. The one way is how I have always made my tiramisu. It's a ladyfinger, and I make it in a cake, and I cut it into fingers, and I do it. It's a little denser than your standard ladyfingers. It holds its shape. It is just so good. Anyway, so that's one way. And then we're gonna make true ladyfingers piped out one at a time, because you can enjoy those to make a tiramisu, or you can just enjoy them with a cappuccino, or lots of other desserts too. So we're gonna start with the actual true ladyfingers. Okay, so I'm going to put, now what I have done to save a little time and save a little noise is I have already whipped my eggs. So what you start with is 125 grams of egg yolks, okay? And that's about seven egg yolks. Today, it came out perfect. 7 egg yolks was exactly 125 grams. It's not always, give or take a few grams, you're fine. 7 egg yolks. So, you want to whip them until they are as thick as they will get. You know, it's going to make a stream, but it's not going to be liquidy, okay? You're going to make them as firm as you can. You're going to scrape those out here. Now, what you're going to do is you whip them with 100 grams of sugar. Now, the reason I have my scale out this morning is just as a reminder to you guys, please get a kitchen scale. For things like this that are so light and fluffy, it does make a difference to know the measurements, because it just comes out so much better. Now, usually it's a little more, it's weird, the egg whites and the egg yolks don't always match. It's usually like about 6 whites, but I just whip up the whole thing anyway. So I did 7 eggs. So now what we're gonna do, this is a really easy recipe because there's only, 5 ingredients. Egg yolks, not even 5 ingredients, eggs, sugar, flour, and potato starch. Now, you can use cornstarch, but if you so choose to get potato starch, Bob's Red Mill, which is a very common brand in a lot of grocery stores, carries it. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to, this is the 65 grams of potato starch, and this is 150 grams of flour. Now, I have a little extra flour because if this is too liquidy, we will add that up to 200 grams of flour, depending on how thick this comes out. This probably could have been, it's pretty good. Maybe a hair thicker, but anyway. So what I'm going to do is here, I am going to go ahead and sift these together, the flour and the starch. And you know, you can just you can shake it, or I just use my fingers and push it through. You can get one of those sifters if you want, but it's just another thing to take up space when you do the same thing with one of these babies, and you'll use it for a lot more stuff. Remember, I'm always about saving space in the kitchen. Okay. Now, if you really want to do it good, do it a second time. The lighter and fluffier your everything that you put into this is, the better. Okay, so now here's what we're going to do. This is easy peasy. All this is whipped egg yolks and sugar. I did it in my mixer on high speed until it got really, see how light, this is just yolks. Look at how light yellow it is. So really, truly, it's beautiful. This you just saw is the flour and the starch, and this is just egg whites with, okay, the grand total is 185 grams of sugar, 100 in the yolks. The other 85 goes in here, but here's the trick when you're making egg whites and putting sugar in it. Let them beat like almost 90% peak, okay, first. And then add the sugar in slowly at the end. If you add the sugar in earlier, it gets dense. It does fluff up, but it doesn't get as fluffy as if you add the sugar later. So if you add it in earlier, it's a thicker fluff, And if you add it in later, it's a fluffier fluff. Okay. Don't ask me. I don't know the technical terms. I just know what it does. So what we're going to do is we're going to add about 1/3 of the, look at how fluffy these are. 1/3 of the whites in. That looks like about 1/3. Okay, we're going to just fold this in. Again, you don't want to totally smush up all the fluff. Don't you love all my technical terms? We're going to put in a little bit of the flour. I'm just going to, you know, about 1/3. And we're just going to fluff this in. You want to kind of fold from underneath. And before this is all fully, you don't have to fully mix it in. We're going to add some more. Just get it started. Add some more of this. Woo. Gotta have fun in the kitchen. Now in the meantime, you should have your oven preheating because you want to do this kind of all at one time. This is not a kind of batter that you can make it and then let it sit and come back to it later. You'll lose the fluff. And you have this really nice, fluffy, see, it's pretty thick. Okay, now is the fun part. This is the part I think that people get nervous about. And actually, I don't think, you know, this came out actually really good today. And I don't know if it's the weather or what, but see, it's nice, got a nice thickness to it. If you wanted to add if you want to make it a smidge thicker just because you're not sure, just add a little teeny bit more flour, you know, fold it in, make it just a smidge. I didn't really need that, but I'm just showing you it's okay as long as it stays pretty kind of medium thick cake batter like. So now, we're going to take the important thing right here. You need a pastry bag. Now you can use a plastic, you know, Ziploc, as long as it's a nice heavy duty, like a freezer bag, snip the bottom. You can use that. You can fold, you know, parchment paper, make a bag out of it. But honestly, invest in a couple of pastry bags. Have a big one like this when you're doing pastries and have your smaller ones when you need icing and you need like a finer tip. Now I'm not putting a tip on this because this has the perfect size hole in it anyway. And this is kind of like a restaurant one, so it's a cloth one with that's kind of lined. But you know, you can get these anywhere. You can get them online, you can get them in person. Okay, so we're gonna fill this up. Just gotta be careful because there's a hole in the bottom of the bag, obviously. And it's really smart sometimes to have a cup that you can stick this in case it starts to leak out, or like I've got the cups there in my thing. So you want your oven at 230 degrees Celsius, which equates to 446. So basically 450 oven. It's a hot oven. You only put these babies in for 9 minutes. Oh, look what I did. Almost spilled it out the top. So what you're gonna do is your parchment paper lined cookie sheet here. And you're just going to squeeze out enough to make about a 4 or 5 centimeter finger. Now, don't put them too close because they do grow and they poof up. And you want to make them kind of thick if you can. Don't like squeeze it out so it's flat. You know, you can, let me show you. You can squeeze it so it's flat, or you can kind of go a little slower so it sticks up more. And that's kind of what you want. You want them to be a little bit fat if you can. So don't be afraid. So basically hold your thing away from the pan. Sometimes we tend to drag it on the pan. Don't touch the pan because that's going to make it flatter. And you want these to be a little poofy because you want them to be thick enough to hold the coffee that you're going to soak them in tomorrow. Okay, that one's kind of skinny. I'm going to make them a little fatter. Okay. Da-dum-ba-dum. All right. And now the all-important thing we're going to do next. And I decided to do this with you here. This is powdered sugar, and this is a little bit of cornstarch. So it's 50 grams of powdered sugar, 5 grams of cornstarch. I'm going to mix these in here together. That basically just gives it, keeps it from all sticking together and clumping. So now what we're going to do, I just stirred that all in. And we are going to completely cover these with this powdered sugar. You want it to be thick. Because this is kind of what makes, as they say, the little vapor barrier that makes them, I don't know, poof up better. There's not a whole lot of sugar in the recipe, so it's okay you're doing this, you know. And we're gonna stick these babies in the oven. Now, because these are such a light and fluffy thing, I have found, in general, make these one tray at a time, unless you're going to use your convection, you can do that too. I just find that the different heights of the stove oven make them come out a little bit different. Like in the middle, I think they come out the best. If you put them on the bottom, they tend to cook more on the bottom quicker and they don't poof up as much. I don't know why, but it is. So anyway, now I'm going to make the next tray, get them ready to go in. They only take 9 minutes. So this will make 2 nice trays. I think it makes like 50 to 60 cookies. Okay, boom, done. Now we're going to powdered sugar this baby again. Oh, these are poofing up already. So while those are cooking, you're definitely going to get to see that. So now I'm going to show you my other recipe. Now this is a little bit different. I don't know how official this one is. This is a recipe, gosh, I got probably 30 years ago or more. It was from an Italian-American cookbook originally, and I just started making them. It was one of, if I'm not mistaken, because the book has fallen apart, so I actually have the page all yellowed right here in my plastic. So again, 5 ingredients. This one adds 2 ingredients that one doesn't. So now this recipe I usually make in a cake pan. So this is my big cake pan. This is probably double the size of a regular, like a regular lasagna pan is a 9 by 13. This is double that. So I'm actually doubling the recipe, but the singular recipe I'm going to give you right now is 6 large eggs, 1.5 cups of sugar, 2 cups of flour. This one calls for 1 small bottle of vanilla. I'm just putting vanilla in, and 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Now this one calls for baking powder. The regular, real Italian ladyfingers do not rely on baking powder. They rely on the fluff of the eggs. So now this recipe calls for 6 eggs. I'm putting in 12 eggs. So let's see here. Use my handy dandy. 1 and 12. Now, this one doesn't separate them out, and this is the one I have always made for my tiramisu, and I'll tell you, the flavor is pretty much the same, except for this one calls for vanilla, and I do like those just the way they are, but I do love vanilla, so I have made those with vanilla, but I was giving you the true recipe. Now today, I'm doing this way to show you both methods, because I'm telling you it makes 2 different tiramisus. You can decide which one you like better and which one you want to take the time to do. I purposely did the first batch. I pre-did the whipping because I didn't want to make a lot of noise. This one's going to make a little noise. So I'm putting all these 12 eggs that have no more shells in the bottom. And we're going to mix those all up together. Move that over. So we're going to mix those, then we're going to add in our flour, which I told you was 2 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, and some vanilla. But we're going to start by whipping those up first, so hang tight. Now, just so you know, I would have to beat this for like an hour for it to get even close to as thick as it comes when you separate it out. It's a whole different animal. This is nice and frothy and whipped, but it is not thick. Let me show you. Not thick the same way. It's a little, I don't know if you can see, but it's frothy. And it won't get the same kind of thick. So now I'm going to put it on low, and I'm going to start mixing in the other ingredients slowly. The sugar. I like to whip it a little with the sugar because I want the sugar to get all kind of you know, melted into the eggs. And it also does help it fluff a smidgen. All right, and now I'm going to slowly add in the flour. Actually, before I add the flour, I'm going to add the vanilla while it's still liquidy. So I'm just going to pour in a little. I love the smell of a good vanilla. And now we're just going to slowly add in the flour. Oh, you know what I did? Haha! I doubled the eggs, but I didn't double everything else, so hold on. Ooh, wait! So you get for doing two things at once. But these babies are just about done. I'm going to give them one more minute while I get the flour out. Yeah, I'm just mixing it together here. Okay. Now before I start mixing that, I'm going to put in another teaspoon of this. You can put it through the sifter or just stir it in. But I am going to take out these ladyfingers, so I wanted you to see them. There we go. Look at these. Let's pull this out. Woohoo! I just want to show you how beautiful these ladyfingers are. Look at that. Can you see it? Oh, they're perfect. So, I'm going to move these over to cool off. You got to be careful because if you leave them in 1 minute too long, the sugar on top, see the sugar, how you saw that was really pretty. The other one that I had moved to the top for a minute because they were pretty much already cooked, just start to turn a little brown. You don't want that. You want them to still have that crackly looking powdered sugar on top. But if you're putting them in a tiramisu, they're not burnt, they're not overcooked, they're going to be soaked in coffee anyway, so they're going to be brown. So now, really quickly, we're going to do my cake version. As I make a mess. And you want to do this slow because you want to keep the fluff going. While that's finishing mixing, we're going to spray our cookie sheet. Now you can put, you can put parchment in the bottom of this too. But honestly, because they don't have to be perfect and beautiful, I just spray them. It all comes out. So this is a batter. It's kind of thick. Now this is a bright yellower color because it hasn't been quite as fluffed as the others. So again, it's a different animal. It's still a kind of got the egg fluff. Not quite as light, but it's the same flavor. And it's gonna rise some in here. Okay, you'll know when it's done. When you can stick a toothpick in it. It's gonna take a little longer than those ladyfingers took. So now I'm gonna take one of these, now that this tray has cooled down a little bit. I'm gonna bring it back over here. And we're just gonna put some of these on here. Oh, look at these. So you can peel them off the paper, but just be careful because they'll break. But look at how pretty those are, aren't they? You know, well, this is a small one here that's kind of stuck on two sides, so it's kind of ugly. So you know what happens to those, right? Oh, darn, it broke. They're light and fluffy and airy. Little teeny weeny bit of crisp on the outside. What happens is you want to take these off now. Of course, I put them on that to look pretty, but you really want to put them on one of these babies. You know, a rack, so that they cool off nicely and are perfect to make your tiramisu or to have with your cafe or to make some other cool dessert like a lemon tiramisu or an English trifle or just a layered anything dessert. But I'm really excited to share my ladyfingers both ways with you. These make two different, now if you make tiramisu with these ones or those ones, the ladyfingers or the ladyfinger cake, and both are gonna taste great. They are going to come out a little different texture-wise. You have to decide which kind you like better. These are a little softer, a little thinner, and those are going to be a little thicker and a little denser, but it's still a wonderful, wonderful dessert either way. So I just want to thank you for being here today. And most importantly, don't forget that, cooking brings people to the table, but dessert keeps them at the table just a little bit longer. So anyway, here we are in Dorina's Kitchen. We make real food for real people so that you can bring your family to the table and sometimes invite some important people over and impress them. So anyway, have a wonderful day. Please subscribe and like and follow all my stuff, Dorina's Kitchen here on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. And please sign up for my website, dorinaskitchen.com. Please go and subscribe to the page, to the site. But I really need you all to help me make this grow bigger now, because we have a lot of exciting things coming in the future, and I need you all, the base of my movement, to help us grow the movement. Anyway, thanks again for being in my kitchen. I love you all. Ciao. Have a good day.